Here at the South by Southwest 2024 Film and TV Festival, Sonequa Martin Green is the star of the festival. Coming soon, she's got the premiere of Star Trek Discovery Season 5, and right now, the premiere of her new film, My Dead Friend Zoe. What makes South by the perfect place to premiere My Dead Friend Zoe?
Well, to be honest, the people involved in the creation of this production are just phenomenal. It's an incredible team, and I feel like the reception here at South by has been tremendous. It's good people on the ground too.
So how did this cast come about? What a great cast you have.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I do believe that every one of these incredible individuals who are in the cast really believe in this project, as we all do on the back end. And it was such an honor to write this film with Kyle, and I feel like it was a party that a lot of amazing people showed up to.
What was the inspiration behind the story?
So Kyle, Kyle has a very personal background with this story, and I'm sure you're going to talk to him, and he'll give it to you. But yeah, this is rooted in real stories of real humans, real relationships, real veterans, and so it kind of just evolved from there along the way.
And tell me about how this Travis and Jason Kelsey executive producer thing came about. Did you meet them?
Well, we're excited for the support and to have them involved. That is above my pay grade as a screenwriter, but yeah, no, we're very excited for the team that came together on this. It's surreal.
Nice to meet you. Thanks a lot. Awesome. Thanks. All right, so how excited are you to have My Dead Friend Zoe premiere here at South by? What makes Austin the perfect place for this premiere?
I've been preparing to make this film for about 20 years since I left the military. It's an incredibly special day.
Absolutely. What was the inspiration? I mean, obviously very personal, but what triggered the story to come to fruition as a feature film?
The film is based on my life, my experience in the military in Iraq. After transitioning out, my struggle with PTSD, I've lost some friends, but then ultimately learning to talk about it and learning to move on, specifically with the help of my fellow veterans.
Well, I gotta say, I've seen the film. I was deeply moved by it. I really felt the depiction of grief related to it, unfortunately. But I have to say, your cast is amazing. So tell me how this cast came together, what they brought to the screen that wasn't even on the page.
The cast, forget about it. I mean, forget about it. They're incredible. It started with Ed Harris. I wrote him a letter, explained the purpose, really, of the film. He loved the script, but he had a personal connection to a Vietnam veteran, and he really wanted to do it. Ed plays character Dale, who's based off my grandfather, who's a Vietnam veteran. Once we had Ed, then it was Sonequa Martin Green and Natalie Morales. Sonequa plays a version of myself. Natalie plays my friend that I lost. And they filled up these characters in a way that I could have never imagined.
For the past 7 years, I've been saying that Sonequa Martin Green is absolutely one of the finest actors to grace the soundstage of a Star Trek series. But then when I've seen her in other things, of course, Walking Dead, and now your film, I'm like, nope, she's just a great actor, period.
She's just a great actor, period. She does this strong, silent, stoic. Sonequa did a service to us veterans. She did the work. She studied me. She studied my vernacular. We have an amazing cast of supporting folks who are also veterans. Sonequa was a sponge, and it was incredibly important to her to get it right, and she did.
Well, for Natalie, I mean, other than Sonequa, no one else knows she's around for the present day stuff. So what was that like for her, and how challenging was that for her? And she really pulled it off. Natalie
also had a tall order. She has to play someone, a real person. She's based off one of my platoon mates named Ramirez, but the thing about Ramirez is that he was funny. He was funny, and we veterans are funny, and the way that we're typically depicted in film is very serious, very self-serious, or we just don't ever get a chance to laugh. And guess what? We're incredibly funny. In the military, we have this dark sense of humor, and it's how we cope, it's how we get through. So I've not really seen a film about veterans specifically that's a dark comedy, so that's where I started. And Natalie is so funny, she's so smart, so much of the lines are improvised that she made it her own, and Natalie just adds this layer of levity to the film that makes it so watchable. What do you hope people take away when they see this film here at South by Southwest premiere? I hope people take away from my dead friend Zoe a greater understanding of veterans and how we are among you. We're just like everybody else. So often we're depicted on the two extremes. We're either some super soldier kicking down doors, Navy SEALs, or we are a broken veteran that's addicted to alcohol or drugs. But guess what? 95% of us are somewhere in the middle. We're just like everyone else. We're also just incredibly high contributing members to society, and that's what I hope people take away from this film, is they really see us for the people and the value that they are to our society.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. So how excited are you to have My Dead Friend Zoe premiere at South by? What makes it perfect?
I'm very excited. South by is very special to me. I won the audience award with my movie a couple years ago, and I wasn't able to come because it was during lockdown, so this is my first time here with a film. And I'm really excited to be here with this one. This one's really special to me.
So I understand, I spoke to your director, you're playing based on a real person.
Yeah.
So what kind of prep and research did you do?
Real people, actually, yeah.
Tell me about the prep you did for that.
Well, we had a lot of conversations with Kyle. This is, sort of based on his life story, and he told us a lot about his friends. Yeah.
What do you hope people take away from My Dead Friend Zoe here at South by Southwest?
That there is hope, and that they can talk to people about things, and that you don't have to live in a hell of your own making. Yeah.
And how about working with the great Sonequa Martin Green?
She's incredible. I will be a fan of hers for life and a friend of hers for life, and I'm so lucky that I got to do this with her.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
There she is, my friend Sonequa.
How you doing? It's good to see you.
I am so excited.
Thank you.
I cannot tell you, first of all, how much I love My Dead Friend Zoe.
Oh, thank you.
I got to see it early in LA.
Yeah.
I was so deeply moved by this film. How proud are you to premiere it here at South by?
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of Kyle. I'm proud of all of us. I'm proud of Natalie. I'm proud of Utkarsh. I'm proud of Ed and Morgan. I'm proud of Gloria. But I'm really proud of Kyle, and how he stuck to this. This was a mission for him. This is about activism. This is about art being in service to humanity. And he really did it. It's been about 20 years in the making, and he's done it. So it's so exciting. I'm just like, thank you, Jesus, because this is exactly what I want to do. I want to do work that means something, that helps, that serves. So it's an honor to stand with him.
I spoke to Kyle, and when I asked him how great you are in this film, he said she did the work. So what work did you do?
Woo!
That's the question.
That is the question. That is the question. I'll say this, because I could go on and on about the work, right? But I will say that something that hit me while we were shooting is that no matter how hard the work was for me, because it was hard, it was heavy. No matter how hard or heavy it got, all I had to do was look at him, because this is his story that we were bringing to life on behalf of those veterans that he lost, on behalf of all veterans and anyone struggling with grief and loss and tragedy. And I thought, well, he lived through it, so I'm going to be okay. It's hard for me, but it was harder for him, and it's harder for all of them that have this kind of experience. It's sort of inhumane in a lot of ways, and so I was able to suck it up and be like, never before has it been less about me. This is not about me, and I want to disappear so that others' stories can be told,
I gotta say, what is it like for you to be here for two big events?
Oh gosh, it's so exciting. I just never imagined. This is my first time at South by, and I'm loving it. I love the energy. I love the people. I love just the eyes that will come to this film, because we want as many people to see it as possible so that it can help as many people as possible. So the fact that it's here is so exciting. We were just jumping for joy when we found out we would be here. And then I found out Discovery was going to be here, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, thank you, Jesus. What is happening? So it's really exciting. And, we keep looking at Kyle, Mr., Bronze Star from the service. And we're like, you good? Because this is you right here. You've done it. And he's just like,
So, how excited are you to premiere this film here, and what do you hope people take away from the world premiere of My Dead Friend Zoe?
Well, it's incredibly exciting. I know everybody says that, but it really is, because as soon as, even before I landed in Austin, as everybody else, there was already this inkling, this feeling, this buzz about the extraordinary talent of Kyle Hausmann-Stokes and the storytelling and the cast and all of that. So this is a beautiful moment. And I hope that people take away from this film just, there can be sometimes preconceived notions about people who serve, or what happens to them afterwards, or, just kind of things that they may have seen in movies before, and they automatically equate it to veterans. And this movie blows through all of those boundaries, because what Kyle has done, since he himself, of course, is a veteran, is he has brought different layers of their experiences when they come home, what they have to deal with. And, for me, the underlying message is that silence, secrecy, and shame can be killers. And one of the main parts of this movie is the sharing with each other, is these veterans talking about their experiences, because when you keep it silent, there's shame locked in silence, right? And that stops the healing. So there's so many universal messages that are all of it: family, friendship, trauma, healing, openness, grief, hope, and healing. It's just, I've seen it, 6 or 7 times, and it gets me every single time. I know what's coming, and I still am drawn in, because Kyle has created a film that is extremely pure. He's a very pure-hearted man. And the movie is very clean. Like, there's nothing extraneous. I'm just so happy and excited for him. I cannot wait to see what he does next, because he's just going to be on a whole stratosphere.
I got to see it in LA, and I thought it was a beautiful film, poignant, profound, amazing performances. Kyle did do a magnificent job.
It's unbelievable, and this is an indie film, so even on set, he was calm, cool, collected, collaborative, chill. I don't know how he did it, and we could just talk about a scene for a while, and we'd film it, and he's an extraordinary man.
How excited are you to premiere My Dead Friend Zoe right here in Austin?
Yeah, first time at South by for the film festival. I used to come here for music all the time, but it's like a real to-do. Usually I'm here next week when it's absolute mayhem, because musicians don't really know how to behave. We're not supposed to, but this is really cool. It's exciting, and to be able to share the movie with all these people and such great artists is a real honor.
Have an amazing cast. How did you all elevate each other working together?
Collaboration, openness. I think Ed Harris and Sonequa are sort of the engine of this movie, and they're so good, and they're such willing scene partners with each other. You can tell they both left everything on the table, and on down the line, Natalie, Gloria, Morgan Freeman, and then myself. I mean, we all really wanted to be there, and you could tell.
Good to see you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you.
First of all, congratulations to all of you. This film is so wonderful. I think starting with you, Kyle, because this is your first film, how did you know, or when did you know that you wanted to start directing and make this film?
I've been making movies since I was a little kid, but this film in particular, almost about 20 years ago, when I was first leaving the military. We were supposed to go to Iraq, and I was supposed to get out of the Army, but we got stop-lost. My colonel called me into his office one night. He said, "Sergeant, I've seen the films that you've made." I was secretly making films of our jungle warfare training, this stuff, and he said, "I think you're meant for something different. So what you're going to do is you're going to get out of this deployment. I've made arrangements for you and only you to get out of the stop-loss. You're going to go to film school. You're going to find the best one. I don't know what it is, but you fucking find it. You're going to graduate top of your class. You're going to hone your craft, and you're going to pay it back by telling the soldier's story." And I saluted him, and I said, "Yes, sir," and I've been on that mission ever since.
So you said that journey started 20 years ago. When you started getting ready to make this film, what was the casting process like? And how did that kind of evolve as you found each character and who would portray them?
In the Army, the JAG Corps, they have a saying that says the pen is mightier than the sword. So I wrote letters. It started with Ed. We knew I wanted to start with the character that portrays my grandfather, and I wrote him a letter, and I explained to him the story and how I lost three of my friends, 2 of my platoon mates, and I talked about Ramirez and Ventura, and I just told him, and it resonated with him. And Ed has his own personal connection to a Vietnam veteran. He remembers that time, and he said, I want to do it. He wanted to do it. And then after that, I wrote letters to all of these lovely people and said kind of the same thing, maybe a little different. Everybody I chose, I did my digital recon to see, like, they're amazing actors, but do they also give a shit about certain things? And every single one of these people has some philanthropic or some cause, something that they're trying to do with their art. So it was, aside from, they're just amazing. So, I mean, let's just give it up to them one more time. They all wanted to make this movie and make an entertaining movie, but they wanted to help. They wanted to help veterans. They wanted to help people going through mental health. They wanted to make a difference.
Can y'all each tell me a little bit about getting involved with the project and what it was like to receive a cold letter about this?
I was we were on vacation, my husband and I, Kenrick, who's here, hi baby. And the letter came in, and as soon as I read it, I knew immediately. You know, we prayed about it, and the answer was very clear, very loud, and it came very fast. That this is it. I remember him saying, you know, he said who he was, what he had done, which, by the way, we haven't talked enough about your Bronze Star. And then he said his why, and that it was literally to save lives. And he said, I think that you would be basically down to stand with me in this mission. And I thanked God, and I said, thank you for giving me the gift to stand with you. It's an honor.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, about those letters, as you saw, he's a good writer. So it was convincing. It was convincing, and I've been a supporter of Everytown for Gun Safety for a long time. And Kyle had made some work for them that was great, and so I knew a little bit about what he'd done, and he's an incredible filmmaker, and I was so thrilled to be asked to do this. So it was very easy. Yes, yeah.
When I read the script for the first time, I related to it in many ways emotionally immediately. The parallels that were happening with Chris's father were happening with my mother, and another loved one was going through a very serious mental health crisis, and I have a sibling who died by his own hands. So, but the story of the healing is what really got me. The story of forgiveness, forgiving oneself, because the other person who passed would want you to forgive yourself and to live life in the fullest capacity. And then when we spoke about so many things, just your compassion and your commitment and your intelligence and your humor and your fortitude and your talent, I mean, so that's why.
My letter had Ryan Gosling's name on it. So I sent it back. And he re-edited it and added my name. We just want to work with people who care, who deeply care about what they do, and Kyle's passion and belief in all of us. It really feels good. It feels good to work with a director who gives you free reign. I mean, we built all of our characters together in the spirit of the stories that Kyle had told. And it's you can't really ask for a better collaborative experience. So for me, it also was like a really quick yes. And I'm so glad too, because it was such a great experience.
Definitely. On that note, we have a question from the audience that I'm looking at. How did y'all kind of balance this tone, even just in us talking about it, balancing a little bit of levity with the harder parts, the loss, you know, and all of your own personal connections? How did y'all find that balance? Because I did love that there were also those moments that you could laugh at, even between her and the grandfather, of like, you know, like that, even when things are hard, you know, life is still ridiculous sometimes.
Kyle shared videos with us that he made, and videos of Ventura and Ramirez and his platoon mates, and they're funny. And if we're representing them, we have to do it correctly, and they wouldn't have wanted it to be any other way, I think, by what you've told me. And life is tragic and funny and bizarre and weird, and sometimes there's bees, you know?
That's right.
So like, sometimes there's bats flying around while you're doing a scene. That's true. And all of those things make it more real. So I think that I think it's easy to balance that tone when you try and do it something realistically, at least for me, because I'm really good at it. I'm just kidding.
No, that's a big part of it, because the story is so intimate, because it's so authentic, and the more specific, the more universal. And obviously this is your story in honor of your platoon mates, your battle buddies that you've lost, but it doesn't just speak to veterans, right? My uncle is 23 years in the service, and he's here as well. And hilarious. And so it's not just for veterans, it's also for anyone struggling with grief. Like you were saying, you had that personal connection to it, and I had lost my parents in 2021, and so we talked a lot about that struggle with grief and survivor's guilt and tragedy. And so we really knew, you knew, that for it to speak to everyone, for it to be veterans, yes, first and foremost, and then outward from that, it had to be well-rounded, it had to be all-inclusive, it had to have hope and the struggle, it had to have joy with the pain, the spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down, right?
And also, if I may, do you know how the film ends with Merritt opening up and talking? Do you know, it's a very primal human thing, sitting around the campfire when we were, gazillion years ago. I'm not good with that stuff. But, community, communication, speaking, and listening is the master of, the most healing things, the most simplest things, but the most healing, so universal.
Absolutely, and I just, there's a lot of war films, it's a popular genre, and there's not that many veteran films, and every time we're portrayed, rarely do we get to write it or direct it. And we're funny, okay? We can be funny, and we're not all broken, we've all been through tough stuff, but we're freaking resilient and funny, and that's how we cope. And my platoon in Iraq, Ramirez in particular, was like such a shit talker, and he didn't really always like follow authority, but he was like the person you wanted on your six, and I wanted to infuse the film with that. And I'm just gonna do a really quick thing. If you're a veteran, could you please stand up? Everybody who's a veteran. Wow. Look at that. Wow. Okay, now sit down. Sit.
Sit down.
Sorry, that one got me. Well, and along those lines, when you were on set, kind of to protect your own mental health as you were telling these stories, this is another question from the audience. What did you do, together? Did you make time to talk about things or to process your own connections to this kind of project as you were making the film?
One anecdote was the Zoe suicide scene. I'll never forget Natalie. We were recreating that, and that was tough because it felt like I was, I don't know, exploiting this thing that I didn't see, but I knew it happened. And Ramirez lived in his parents' garage so that his siblings could live inside, and he loved motorcycles, and all of the stuff that's in there is all RJ, And oh man, that was tough for me. And Natalie sat on that couch with me and just, I don't know, rubbed my back, and we breathed together. And Every single one of this cast, whenever it got tough, they had my six. It was them. It was them.
I will say anecdotally, only because it's funny and we're talking about being funny in sad situations, is that all those cigarettes you saw me smoking, I smoked them all the same day. And it was all one day, and I was like, you know what, fake movie cigarettes like really hurt my throat. Can we just do like CBD? It turns out that when you smoke 100 CBD cigarettes in a day, you're sort of like, what's sad? What is... So just as a tip for the fellow filmmakers out here, maybe one or two is fine. But so I was sitting next to, I mean, I understood that this was, in many cases, and not in many cases, but like in the case of this movie, kind of a big climax of it. And for Kyle specifically, like he said, a really hard moment to shoot. It's hard to shoot an entire movie that parallels your life and is about your life in so many ways, but that moment in particular, I knew that is how you may be feeling, and there's nothing I can say except be there. But it is important to put these things on film, because if you're not going to tell his story, who is? And hopefully somebody will see this and know that there are other answers, and that there is hope out there, and that people do care about you, and that you're not alone, and that talking about it can help. Yeah. And also CBD cigarettes can help.
Get blissed out. Yeah. Along those lines of levity, we had an audience question about, Utkarsh, do you exclusively do roles that involve someone seeing dead people now? Is that part of your repertoire? Are you seeking additional roles in this vein?
Well, how do you guys want me to answer this question? You pick the answer. Yes, and also open to several other opportunities should they arise. Wide open ball game. It just happened to be that way. We got really lucky. One more time.
Another audience question. Can you give some insight, Kyle, about how you chose to make a lot of the main characters women in this story?
Absolutely. I think one of the first two ideas, when I finally mustered the courage to finally start putting this down, is like I knew that I wanted it to be funny, and I knew that I wanted the two main characters to be women. For starters, as you know, they've said, is so personal. I just needed some separation from the main characters, and I've done so much work for the VA over the past 10 years, PSAs. One mental health campaign in particular, I traveled the country, interviewed 400 or 500 veterans, and I met so many incredible women veterans and heard their stories, and I was so humbled. And so it was just no question, and we never get to see women in roles like this. And I mean, why would you not do that? So,
yeah, and we discovered yesterday when we were doing the interviews, like, have you ever heard of a white man telling his story through two women of color?
It's never.
That's never happened. So yeah,
we
give it up
keep
for this
commending
guy.
him for that.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying about the separation, but it still just takes so much courage to do it. And I remember that day in the cemetery, and I remember you saying, and I hope it's okay for me to say this, but that day was really, that day was a lot. It was a lot. And I remember you saying, after I think it was just the first take, you said, you know, I'm getting to watch this happen, and it's a moment that I'm not necessarily aware that I had in my real life. This moment of healing, this moment of catharsis. And, you know, you did this to save lives, you did this so that people would talk about it, but it's really beautiful that people will also be able to see this and have that same, hopefully, have that same cathartic moment. And it's beautiful too that you were able to have it too, in a sense. It's really, it's so cyclical, the way it's happening. And the whole time, for me, it was me telling his story. I'm him. I know for me, a lot of times it was time to suck it up, because it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I would just look at him who really did it and really lived it, and looked at the other veterans who graciously graced us with their presence and then told us their stories. I would just look at them and I would say, now, where is my mark? I'm gonna suck it up and I'm gonna do this because you actually lived through this. And so I did also learn, you were talking about, being able to talk about it. It's also important for us to listen as well. And that's one of the greatest gifts I took away from this, from you, from all the other veterans, is that you really have to sit and listen to them. Because a lot of people glaze over when they start to tell their experiences because it's so uncomfortable. And they get used to that, and they get to the point where they don't really want to talk about it. But if we'll just listen and sit in it with them, then this can all be, it can be healing for us all.
Can you tell us about the partners that you're working with? Each of you, I know you have different organizations, and like what the best way for anyone here to share this with the veterans with their in their life or to help promote this film is?
So you guys saw in the end credits, there are 3 amazing nonprofit organizations that have unprecedentedly joined as impact partners to this film. The Bob Woodruff Foundation, Every Town for Gun Safety Support Fund, and The Mission Continues. And you can go to their websites and you can donate to them directly. Each of them are doing a different thing to service veterans, mental health, women veterans, community, purpose. It's right there in the film. You can just go follow them, just support them, give to them, get their newsletter. They are like, no BS, we're just doing the work. And I'm so grateful to them. And hopefully when we sell this film, we're going to do an impact campaign where we really plan to show this film to military, to veterans around the country, to stoke conversation, and to get people to talk about it.
Until you have that distribution partner, is there a website or a social address that maybe people could go to that's for this film? Or maybe are we going to make one if you don't?
At the moment, the only web presence we have would be at Legion M. Okay. Legion M is the production company. Yes. So yeah, Legion M and Radiant Media Studios are the 2 production companies. If you can Google them, Legion M. But no, at the moment we built this beautiful house and we're gonna find someone to buy it,
Amazing.
And then they will have a beautiful website and it's gonna be great. But for the meantime, the mission continues. Bob Woodruff Foundation, Every Town for Gun Safety. Do it.
Yeah, and not to pressure you, but that QR code seems like it could be fun to look at and just like see what's there. Yeah.
Could be a good promotion, and you only have 30 minutes to do it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could send a message to all new soldiers today, what would you say? It's another audience question.
Oh, to soldiers today. For me, okay.
Or veterans, whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it to veterans, because soldiers, you got to get through it first. They got to do the I don't know. Don't be a tough guy or tough girl. Like it takes more courage and more bravery to confront it. To like look at Zoe in the cemetery and be like, nah, that's not you. That's not, but Zoe would have. And I couldn't do that for a long time until I finally did, and that came through talking about it. And I would just consider that your next mission. We served, and now your next mission is to take care of yourself and your mental health, and then just be a leader. Like we in the military, we lead, and this is how we're going to be leaders in our veteran life too, is to show how we talk about it.
We can attest to that.
I just want to thank all of you for sharing this story with us and your time today, and congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming.
What a beautiful film, poignant and powerful. That does it for the premiere of My Dead Friend Zoe. So much more to come from the South by Southwest 2024 Film and TV Festival. Check back right here for more amazing content.